Hello, it's me again, Mabel, and thank you for stopping by. Well, sometimes not all videos might really be of interest, but something might be shared that might serve as added knowledge. So I hope you watch to the end. Thank you. So we'll be making this beautiful dress, and I'm sorry to be long because I added the drafting and the sewing together. So I'll be using this black crepe fabric for my gown. You can use any color of your choice or material of choice. I'll be adding a zipper to it. I'll be using this warden, a breast pad, whatever you call it. I'll be using this cloth stay. If you use paper stay, gum stay, tissue stay, just use what is best. I'll be adding a doll face just to line my upper bodies, and I'll be adding this colorful organza to it. So guys, thank you very much for liking. Thank you for your support. Thank you for those that have subscribed so far. I'm grateful. So straight into the video, the drafting. This is my front, and then this is my shoulder line. And so from my shoulder line, I'll be marking down my necessary measurements, my bust point, my under bust, and then my waistline. So I'll be using the bust point of 10 inches from my shoulder line to 10 inches, just as you see me marking 10 inches. And then from there, my under bust that I'll be using is 13 inches. And then I'll be using the waistline of 16. That's my half length for the dress. I'm going to mark the lines across. So after marking, I went ahead to indicate the necessary lines. I inserted my bust point, and then I wrote down my under bust, and then I wrote down my half length. So to get our chest line or armhole line, from your bust point you can go up by 2 inches, and it will still work very well. It will still work perfectly fine. Or you can use the formula dividing your bust by 6 inches. You add 1.5 to it plus another 1 inch. Whatever you get, you use it for your armhole line. So what I got was about 8.3 inches thereabouts, but I approximated it to just 8 inches, which is almost the same thing as going up by 2 inches. So we're on point. So I went ahead to mark the lines across, and then I indicated it as my chest line. So for my shoulder, I divided my shoulder measurement by 2, and then I marked it there. So I'm just going to take that same measurement and insert it on my chest line, just to give me a straight line to my shoulder line. So for our shoulder slope, for the front you can go down by 1.5 inches, and for the back you can do 1 inches, and it will still work perfectly well. But for me, for this dress, I'll be using 1 inches for the front and then the same 1 inches for the back. So I went ahead to insert my neck measurement, 3 inches by 3 inches, the standard measurement. After doing that, I went ahead to mark my lines across. So the thing here is my curved ruler broke. It's broke. Yeah, but I'll be getting another one hopefully. So I marked my necessary lines. So in order to get our armhole curve, we'll have to divide our bust measurements by 4 and mark it on our chest line, just as you see me doing. And then from your shoulder slope down to your chest line, you divide whatever you have there by 2, just to get a point to connect your armhole curve very well. So from that point there, I went in by 0.75. You can do 0.5 if you want, and then I'm going to connect those 3 points together. So after connecting the points together, this is what I got. It's looking nice already. So we'll be inserting our dart measurement. So to get that, you just have to divide your nipple point by 2. Whatever you have, just divide it by 2. So from my bust point, I went down by 1 inches. I like going down by 1 inches. I don't like marking it exactly on my bust point. So I'm going to connect a straight line together and then open my dart from my waistline by 0.5 inches on both sides and connect it to that point there. So after connecting it, this is what we have. Basically, this is just a basic bodice. So to get where you want your bustier to start, from your shoulder line, you can just mark whatever you want. And then I'm using 7 inches. So to get a chest, just to get our upper bust tightening, I went ahead to divide my shoulder line by 2 and connected it to my bust point. And so after doing that, I went ahead to take my necessary darts measurement. So this is what we have. And then on this part, on the under bust, if you're not too bursty, you can just do 0.5 inches on both sides. 0.5 inches on both sides. And if you're a little bit busty, you can do 0.5 on one side, and then on the other side you can do 1.25, or you can do 1 inches. And then if you're from the bust of like 40 above, you can do 1.5, and it will still work fine. But for me, not from the center line, from where you see me marking, I'll be going out by 0.5 on this side, and then on the other side I went in by 1 inches, because I didn't really want it to open. But you measure it based on your bust side. So from there I'm going to connect it to my bust point with a curve, and then from there I'm going to connect it downward. Now you can really connect it the way you see me placing my ruler, but if it's too curvy, just open it up a little bit by like 0.25 or 0.5. And so I went ahead to connect my lines together and connected this other side as well. Now to get our tightening at the upper bodice at our chest line, I went in by 0.5 and 0.5 on the other side, and it will still relax. Sometimes some people do 0.5 on this side and then open it up more than 0.5 on the other side, but I just did the same thing on both sides and connected my lines together. And already it's giving us a very beautiful shape, just as you are seeing. Do freehand cutting, but I prefer the pattern method because the sewing is easy. So you can go ahead to insert your necessary body measurement, but before then I'm just going to curve it to my armhole line. Since it's a off shoulder bustier, I mean, placing it on that point is okay for me. And then for the center front, to get your sweetheart neck, you can go down as much as you want, but because I'll be adding something to it, there was no point, so I just went down by 0.5 inches and connected it to this point, just as you see me do. And so basically this is just it. So I'm just going to go ahead to insert my necessary body measurement. So I inserted my bust measurement, and then I added 1.5 inches for ease allowance. And then on the underbust, I did my underbust measurement. So whatever I have in between here, you're still going to pick it and then add it to your measurement, and then still add your 1.5 inches for the ease allowance we use, just as you see me doing right now. So I'm going to go ahead, do the same thing on the waistline, pick the darts we added, add it back to the measurement, and then go ahead and still add our 1.5 inches for ease allowance. And then after doing that, you can go ahead and connect your point together. So remember we did a chest tightening, so you're going to add it to your measurement. I didn't add it, I almost forgot, I'm sorry. So after adding it, I connected my lines back in place and went ahead to cut it out. So basically this is what we have. So to the back quickly, I'll be adding a zipper. So that space you see here is for my zipper. I used 1 inches. So from my chest line, I went ahead to mark my 8 inches for our armhole, just as we did for the front, and then did my shoulder measurement by 2 and then marked it across and connected it together. I'm just trying to be faster so that this video is not long, and did my standard 3 by 1 inches. For the back is 3 by 1 inches, while for the front is 3 by 3. So I'm going to do my 1 inches for shoulder slope and connect the point together, and I went ahead to mark my waistline just as we did for the front, and then I connected my lines together. So for the back, I went in by 1/2 inch just for back tightening to reduce unnecessary gaping at the back. And so just you see me doing, when you're putting your zipper, you just have to go the way I started it. So I went ahead to add my that measurement, open it up by 0.5 on both sides, connected it up to my chest line. And then I did the same thing as I did for the front for my armhole curve, but for the back I went in by 0.5 and then I connected my lines together. Basically what I did for the front for the armhole is what I'm doing for the back. So I did my bust measurement, added my 1.5, did the same thing on the waist, picked this dart here that we added back to our measurements, and then add our extra 1.5 inches allowance, connect our lines together. So for me, for my back, I like going over by 1/2 inch just to reduce some measurements from the back, because as usual we're told the back and the front, the lengths are most times not the same thing. So I just reduce it and connect it to my waist, and yeah, basically that was just it. So I went ahead to cut out everything together. So guys, this is what we have, looking nice and lovely. So I'll go into the lower part of the dress. So I'll be drafting this part using a freehand method. I'll be using pattern. So my fabric is on fold, and then I went ahead to mark the wrong side just so I know what I'm doing. Starting with 16 to get my full length measure, because our shoulder to our waistline was 60. I went ahead to indicate my length, and then I added extra 3 inches for folding allowance and for joining allowance. So after doing that, I went ahead to mark my hip line, and I used 24, and then I went ahead to insert my waist measurement, divide by 4, and then I added 1.5 for ease allowance. I'm not using that for my lower dress for the front, and then I went ahead to mark my hip measurement, added 1.5. Then for the lower part, I minus 2 inches from my hip measurement, marked it, and then added my ease allowance. So with a dot, I just dotted it just to get what I want, but you can use your hip curve if you have. After doing that, I indicated the line very. So for my front, I like going down by like 1 inches, since I'm not adding that, just to reduce some gaping and for it not to really balance well. But I'm not cutting it out, I'll leave it, because after drafting the back, I'll now trim it out. So I went ahead to trim out what is not meant for me here. So the back, I added 1 inch for my zipper allowance, and then just as we went in by 1/2 inch for the upper body, so I'm doing the same thing on this part, and then I went ahead just to and connected it. Just do your same doing. I hope you're really understanding this part. And then I cut it out, and then I placed my front very well, connected everything. So for the back, I'll be adding that for the back. So I went ahead to mark my dart line, open it up by 1/2 inch on one side and 1/2 inch on one side, and then I'll pick I'll put in my waist measurement, divide by 4, and then that dart we inserted there, 2 inches, I'll add it to my measurement, and then add my 1.5 inches for ease allowance here. So basically that's just it. So from that side, I'll just connect it to the hip line. So that's just it for the back, and then after cutting it, I went ahead to now trim out the front part. So guys, this is what we have. So I went ahead to cut out my fabric, and then I cut out both the main fabric and the lining together, and then I added 1/2 inch for ease allowance. So I notched this part. It's very important for your joining. So here I went ahead to add my cloth stay to my fabric and then to my lining as well. So I'm going to go ahead. So I went ahead, sorry, to do the necessary ironing. So for this front, I added a gum stay to it just to give it this fullness at the bust point, just as you see me explaining. It's just something I do and I really enjoy it as well. Okay, for this one, then cut it out how you want, but I was okay with this shape. So you can go ahead and join the warden separately, just as you see me doing, explaining, sorry, and then join the fabric separately, and then you can go ahead and place it the way you want. But for me, I'll be joining both together just like this. So I'm going to go ahead, join it together, and then join the lining as well. And then for the back, I'll go ahead and insert my dart measurement, come back and show us. I went ahead to use these tailor's and I created for myself to do my ironing, and the tailor's and was giving me a good result. So after ironing, this was what I had, and then it's really was looking nice. So I'm going to join this part you see me showing you, the front and the back together just this way. And then after doing that, I'm going to flip it over and iron. So I added hemming gum just so it helps me while I am ironing. So after ironing, I want to put my darts for the back because I added darts while we were cutting. So I'm using the darts and then I'll extend it to the lower part and then add 1 inches because 1 inches was for our darts, and then connect the 2 points together. Let me explain again. Now this dart you see me pointing, I'm going to extend it to the lower part with a straight line just this way, and then I'm going to add the 1 inches for that facing the parts, the measurement parts, the side, and then I'm going to connect those 2 white dots together and then shaping it to the length where you want your dart to stop. Now it helps because after doing that, your dart sits in place. Now you see the darts for the front and the back are sitting well. So I went ahead to add my zipper and did the same for the front, joined it. So I'm going to go ahead now quickly to shaping it. After shaping it, I'm going to fold the down part. So this was the outcome after the shaping. So I'm going to add my beautiful organza to it. So you can measure, like you see me doing these 8 inches. I cut out 16, so unfold is 8 inches. I doubled it and then I flipped it over, just do a clean finishing. So just as you see me doing, I got a midpoint for the organza and for the dress and connected them together, and then I'll fetch a good amount. You can measure it if you want, and if you have enough organza, there's no point for you to really space it that much. So or you can just measure just as you see me do, just to get what you want. If you're not working with plenty organza, but if your organza is plenty, just place it closer to each other, and then this is how I'll pick it. After picking it, you pick another set this way and then stitch it, do the same thing all the way to the back. So after joining it, this was what I got, and then it's looking nice and lovely. So I left a opening here where my hand is going to pass through. So after that, I went ahead to just put it on to see how it looks, and then you can add sleeves just to see me showing you, and this is it. So guys, thank you so very much for watching. Bye.